Surprise, shocking, the horror, what? Hello, I'm Kristen, also known as Voolenvine here on my YouTube channel, on Instagram, on RAVELRY, and pretty much everywhere else on the interwebs. And as always, I'm so happy that you're taking some time out of your day to chat about all the knitting, all the sewing, all the making, or whatever crafty rabbit hole I happen to be diving down this week. And yes, it's gonna be a little bit of a short episode this week. It's especially light on the knitting front. I admittedly have been doing more sewing than knitting this past week, but I do have a project to share with you that I'm almost done knitting on. So there's that, and then I have some sewing finished objects to share with you, one of which I am currently wearing, which I'll talk about in a bit. But yes, I have a couple of announcements before I get into what I've been making this week. As always, we have a couple of knit-alongs and make-alongs that are happening over in the Voolenvine Ravelry group. It's the place to be if you want to partake in any knit-alongs and make-alongs that are happening. Right now we have the Box O Sox knit-along and the Year of the Garment knit-along that are currently underway. Those are year-long knit-alongs. And then we have the Uncomfort Zone KAL, which is running until July 1st. So if any of those titles appeal to you, definitely hop on over to the Voolenvine Ravelry group. I'll link to that below in the description box, along with everything else that I chat about in this episode. But in the meantime, I'm trying to think what else. No major announcements to speak of, other than I will not be having a shop update this week. Surprise, shocking, the horror, what? Yeah, so I'll probably talk more about this in the Blather segment, but I decided to take this week off. I was just feeling really kind of burnt out. I know I just got back from vacation, a really nice relaxing beach vacation with my husband, but it was just one of those things where I was feeling very just creatively uninspired, if that makes any sense, creatively frustrated, because when I'm on the beach, I'm not surrounded by all my things, all my yarn, my fabric, and my tools, and my books. And when I got home, I dove right back into working, and we were having work done on our front stoop on our house, and I had a dentist appointment, and it was just so much happening. My brain was just fried, and I was like, you know what? I'm blocking some time out next week, and I'm just gonna make all the things. I'm my own boss. I can do that, which is amazing. And I rarely ever take advantage of that luxury. I mean, occasionally I'll block off like 2 days and I'll just have a quick makecation where, I'll just, finish up projects and do some sewing, but the ability to just take the entire week off, yeah, I had to give that to myself. So, why not? So I had a makecation this week, and I'll share with you what I've been making this entire week. And I wasn't going to go without podcasting. I mean, I love podcasting, and I like chatting with you guys. So I had a podcast. But anyway, I'll talk more about that throughout the episode. But yeah, just a little heads up, no shop update this week. I'll be back next week with a full-on shop update, which I will chat about next week. So yeah, without further ado, before I get into what I've been making this week, just a quick word from my lovely and amazing sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of classes in design, business, tech, and more, even sewing and the fiber arts. I love learning new things when it comes to knitting, sewing, photography, or whatever crafty rabbit hole I happen to be diving down. And because I know you love learning new things too, I partnered up with Skillshare, and they are offering my viewers 2 months free to try their platform. So give Skillshare a go and learn something new. Just click on the link in the description box below, entering the code at checkout, and enjoy. And thanks, Skillshare. And welcome back. All right, let's talk knitting. It is, as I mentioned at the top of the episode, going to be a very knitting light episode. I've mainly been focused on sewing this week. It's what my creative soul wanted, so I indulged it. But, I did manage to get some knitting done, especially on my Birds of a Feather shawl by Andrea Mowry. It is so close to being done, you guys. So very close. When I last showed it to you on the podcast, I was about here in like midway through the mohair, and then yesterday I hunkered down, watched the YouTubes, and worked my way up to this point right here. So we are on the last stripe of the Birds of a Feather shawl. So I really just have to keep decreasing until this part just does not exist anymore. Yeah, so again, the yarn is in My Hand-Dyed Yarn Voolenvine yarns in 2 different bases. We have my Nouveau base, which is a single ply merino, and then my Ghost lace, which is a lace weight mohair kid silk blend. And it's just, yeah. I cannot wait to have this off the needles, guys. It needs to end. But I'm so close, so close. I think this weekend it's gonna be finally off the needles. So yeah, it's been a journey. It's been a journey, and I am not gonna lie. I am very happy to see that journey come to an end, because it's been miles and miles and miles of garter stitch, and I'm ready for the next thing. So, but that's not to say that, you know, I'm not going to enjoy the finished object. It is going to be a very beautiful shawl, and I am, again, this is one of my favorite colorways that I dye, and, you know, not to toot my own horn, but yeah, I'm definitely going to give this a lot of love come cooler weather, which we shall not speak of, because summer is finally here, or at least the warm weather is. Although it is a rainy day here in Brooklyn, Bushwick, Brooklyn. In case you want the weather update today, it is raining cats and dogs, and I don't know about you guys, but whenever it rains, I kind of get very sleepy, and I tend to be unproductive, and I just want to hibernate. It's not just me, I know. But anyway, yeah, that's how I'm feeling today, even though I've had mass quantities of caffeine already. Just rolling with it, guys. All right, yeah, so Birds of a Feather by Andrea Mowry. I will have more kits for this pattern in the shop next update, which is, again, not this Friday, but the following Friday, I believe on Friday, June 21st at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, but I'll talk more about that later when the time comes. So yeah, Birds of a Feather, Andrea Mowry, great pattern if all you want to do is knit garter stitch with the occasional battle lace. Yeah. And anyway, I think that is all I have to write about that, or say about that. That is all the knitting that I've done this past week, I want to say. But look at that, it just folds up so nicely, and squish, squish. All right, let's move along to sewing. I am currently wearing a finished object, and I will chat about that in a minute. But last week I showed off my Trina dress, a beautiful pattern by Victory Patterns. However, it was just a little too floral for my liking, so I had another one going, hanging on Margot the mannequin back there. I have since finished it, but I'm gonna hold off until next week to talk about it. But it is finished, and I love it, and I'm gonna post some photos on Instagram about it, so keep your eye on that. But for the meantime, I'm gonna chat about this make that I made at the beginning of the week. This is the Zephyr dress by Deer and Doe Patterns, and I'm not sure how this pattern flew under my radar for so long. I think because I have, or had, quite a few of these like A-line skater dresses in my wardrobe, and it's basically my uniform. It's just a simple go-to outfit that I can chuck over a pair of black leggings, put on some boots, and call it a day. It's my uniform. And this pattern just ticked all the boxes. I think because the first photo on the photo that they display of the pattern on their website, the Deer and Doe website, has it just has a scoop neck, or not even a scoop neck, it's just like a rounded neck, which is just a little too athletic for my liking. I took a second look at the Zephyr pattern and realized that they had a V-neck version of it. Who knew? So as soon as I saw that, I immediately thought of some fabric that was in my stash that I had intended to be a hoodie, but then it just never came to fruition. I wasn't feeling it when I saw the fabric in person. But anyway, long story short, I had to make it, and here we are today. So I want to say this pattern was really, really quick to whip up. Between printing out all the pieces, taping them together, cutting them out, cutting out the fabric, it all took, I want to say, about 4 hours. 4 hours to do. So the next time I make this dress, I don't anticipate it taking any more than 2.5 hours, which is crazy sauce. So let me stand up so you can see. Yeah, so this is just some floral jersey fabric, or knit fabric. Actually, it's, I want to say a stretch terry fabric. I'm going to try and hold it up because, yeah, it has like this looped back on the wrong side of it. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it, but yeah, it's like a French terry jersey. So it's very lightweight. Perfect for, you know, I'll sit down again so you can see my face. Perfect for summer. It's pretty breathable. And yeah, so it just, anyway, I love the fabric. It just suited the pattern so well. What else do I want to say about it? It has princess seams, so I'll stand up again. But yeah, princess seams where the bodice seams come down. It curves over the bust and then ends here. And then, yeah, this is the back. And then I'm very pleased about the placement of the flowers on here. There isn't any unfortunate placement where, you know, you have a flower here and a flower there, and they end up looking like rose pasties. So yeah, I was very conscious about that this time, and I kind of like, you know, the placement of it because it kind of gives some, you know, even though it's like a dark pattern, the flowers kind of give the bodice a little bit of shaping, if that makes any sense, or the illusion of shape, because again, itty bitty titty committee. I can use all the help I can get. So yeah, yeah. So again, I usually have a difficulty assembling princess seams because they're like two wonky shapes. There are two pieces to create the princess seam, and when you're working with sturdier fabrics like quilting cotton or, you know, what have you, I tend to experience puckering and creases and everything when I make the first line of stitches, so the seam ripper has to come out and I have to redo everything. Jersey is so much more forgiving because it has that elasticity to it. So yeah, if you're doing princess seams and Jersey, it's just a great combination if you are a newbie sewist. So highly recommend that. The other thing that I really liked about this was that it called for top stitching using a double pointed needle. This is my hand gesture for two-pointed needle. Let me go get it so I have a better visual representation of it. Okay, so this is a set of double pointed needles, and you basically pop out the single needle from your machine and pop this in, and then you have two spools of thread sitting on top of your machine, and you just thread them through. For those of you who just aren't familiar with it, I don't know how well you can see this, but it basically creates two rows of stitches next to each other, and it raises the fabric between those two lines, so it kind of creates like this neat little embossed rib, if that makes any sense. Yeah, so if you've seen any store-bought t-shirt, you will know what I'm talking about, but it has that all along the princess seams, on the hem, on the neckline, and on the armholes and everything. So it has, yeah, I just really like the look of that. I will say that inserting the V-neck was just a little tricky. Not a little tricky, it was a lot tricky. I found myself ripping out several lines of zigzag stitch, which if you've ever done that, you know what a pain in the butt it is. It's just not a fun thing to have to rip out zigzag stitches. Yeah, I don't wish it upon anybody. So if you are new to sewing with jersey, I highly encourage you to test out sewing in sleeves and everything, just, you know, doing it on scrap fabric for testing it out on scrap fabric first, and you know, just in case you run into any walls, you don't have to fret over unpicking your finished garment. So do as I say, not as I do. Anyway, that is my Zephyr dress by Deer and Doe Patterns. Again, highly recommend. I will be making 20 more of these because, again, this is my uniform when I'm working during the week. Although I do want to make a version with pockets, because pockets are so essential to my day-to-day. It's just, I need pockets to put my iPhone in, to put things in, because I'm constantly running around the house, you know, going up and down. Speaking of running up and down the stairs, my card just ran out of memory, so I had to go all the way down to the Die Dungeon and get my SD card from editing the podcast last week. So anyway, I'm back and up and running again. So yes, where was I? All right, so yeah, the Zephyr dress by Deer and Doe Patterns. I actually blogged about it on my new sewing blog. Oh, I have a new sewing blog, guys. And I talked about it last week, so if you are new to the podcast or missed it, it is called The Peculiar Stitch, and I will link to it down in the show notes again. And it's just a casual blog. I update it whenever the spirit moves me, and about just my sewing makes and whenever I have the time and everything. So yeah, it's my sewing blog that, you know, where I document all of my makes. So if you are curious about more details about how I constructed this, about sizing and any alterations and whatnot, that is the place to be to check out more detail about the makes that I share on the podcast. So there you go. And I'm trying to think what else. Yes, I do have more sewing planned for this weekend, and today hopefully I did cut out a muslin to make the Ariana dress. I think that's what it's called. Yes, the Ariana dress by Arc Patterns. I think it's, oh no, I'm sorry, Style Arc. And I've never sewn a pattern by Style Arc before, and I don't know, I've read some mixed reviews about it, but this dress really, really spoke to me, so I really want to have it in my summer wardrobe. And it actually requires, I think it's called smocking, or shirring is what it's called, where it creates that kind of like accordion crinkled elastic in the back, if that makes any sense. So I'm sure you'll find it on a lot of ready to wear store-bought dresses, but this will be the first time that I tackled that technique. So I am gonna make a muslin. I'm being very good. And yeah, this is the fabric that I purchased for it. Not specifically, I just saw it on fabric.com and they were having a sale, and kind of out of my comfort zone, but it really just, I don't know, something about it I really liked. Well, number one, it's dark, but if you can see, yeah, it's a striped woven shirting, I want to say, but it's very soft. It's cotton, and it just has black, red, and kind of, I want to say, like a burnt umber stripe going through it. So yeah, it's kind of cool, and I think it'll make for a pretty, you know, button down sundress a la Gothic style. I don't know, whatever you want to call it, but anyway, so I'm going to use this fabric for that. And then there's another pattern that I just purchased from Jolly Patterns. I don't know if it's Yali or Jolly, but I don't know, they're not as popular as some of the other indie designers, but they came out with like this really cute shorts pattern. And I don't know, something like, during the summer I will wear shorts, but mainly jean shorts, black jean shorts, but something about this pattern kind of spoke to me, so I purchased the pattern, and I think I'm going to have enough yardage left over of this fabric to make a pair of shorts with. So yeah, I have 4 yards of this, so the Ariana dress only takes about 2 yards, and then the shorts 1.5 yards, I think, so definitely enough. But yeah, so those are my plans for this fabric and my sewing plans for the weekend. And in case you want to know how, I thought I would share this, how I've been storing all of my my PDF patterns after you print them out. Again, there's no right or wrong way to do it. This is just how I do it, and I find it very effective. I purchased these manila envelopes. I think you can get like a whole box of 100 from Amazon. And yeah, anytime I cut out a pattern, I just fold them up, and then I write on the front what pattern it is, and if my drawing is happening that day, I will draw a little schematic of what the dress actually looks like, and I'll put the sizing on it. Yeah, and I just pop it in one of my, I have an IKEA shelf next to me, and I just pop it in one of those cubby drawers that fit in there. So yeah, there's that one, and then here's one by Victory Patterns, and it can hold quite a lot. So yeah, the Trina dress by Victory Patterns was it has a lot of pattern pieces. They're not a lot, but a lot of large size pattern pieces because of those sleeves that I showed you. It's a big pattern, so lots of pieces. And yeah, these manila envelopes can hold quite a bit. So yeah, there's a little tip for you for storing your sewing patterns. Yes. What else is happening sewing-wise? I believe that is it for sewing. So I'm going to move along to the Blather segment. Again, no shop update this week. The next shop update will be Friday, June 21st. So you'll hear all about that later on my Instagram feed, and if you subscribe to the newsletter, you'll find out all about that. So I'm going to move to the Blather segment, a segment where I chat about what's been happening in my life, should you care to stick around. But yes, I took a vacation this week, so doing absolutely no work, unless you count this as work. I kind of count podcasting as work because it is work related. I talk about yarn and sewing and all that stuff, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like work because it's fun. I enjoy this. I enjoy hanging out and chatting with you, so technically it's not work. So anyway, I've been doing a lot of reading, mainly listening to audiobooks and reading physical, tangible books. Go figure, who knew those things still existed. But lately I've been listening to Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, and that is a classic I've been trying to read a lot of gothic romance slash horror novels, and that definitely falls under the genre. And if you're not familiar with gothic novels, they have certain rules when it comes to be considered a gothic novel. So you have a haunted castle or dilapidated mansion or just some like ominous and foreboding structure where everything takes place, and then there's some, either it's haunted or there's some dark secrets happening. There's usually a damsel in distress or a mystery that needs to be solved, or just very dark themes, if that makes any sense. So yeah, that's right up my alley. Anyway, I'm trying to work my way through that genre because it appeals to me so much, but I started reading Rebecca. I saw the Hitchcock movie years ago when I was in film school, and it was definitely, I was like a Hitchcock fanatic. I loved all of his movies, and it's particularly Rebecca. And I just started listening to the book, and oh my gosh, you guys, it is so good. It is so well written. Daphne du Maurier, she's just such a wonderful writer. I think it was written in 1938, but her way with words and describing things is just, if only I could write like that. That would just, yeah, her writing is just amazing. And then I purchased this book right here because if you've been following the podcast, you know I'm obsessed with Victorians and Edwardian England and the whole history behind it. Still working on my corset. Not done yet. I should probably put a dent in it maybe today. Who knows? But anyway, I purchased this book upon recommendation from a lovely viewer. Whoever, I'm totally blanking on your name, but thank you so much for recommending it. It is How to Be a Victorian: A Dawn to Dusk Guide to Victorian Life by Ruth Goodman. And oh my gosh, you guys, so good. I mean, it's like information overload, but she takes you through, like, from getting up in the morning to getting dressed to brushing your teeth, all the way to like throughout the day, and then there's like a chapter at the end called Behind the Bedroom Door. That should be juicy. But yeah, it's just full of illustrations and ads of the day, and it's just so exciting to read. And yeah, I'm still working my way through getting dressed in the morning. Apparently, I posted about this on my Instagram stories. I read this right before I go to bed, just a couple of pages, and they talk about deodorant and about like cleanliness and how it was so important. It was like a status thing, like how you smelled was kind of like a sign of your status and wealth and everything. So the less you smelled, or the more flowery you smelled, the more respectable you were, I guess. But I think they used vinegar, and like vinegar was used as a deodorant, but it wasn't as effective as ammonia. Yes, my friends, they used ammonia for deodorant, and oh my gosh, the horror. I was just like, this is kind of, yeah, it's like bedtime horror stories, if you want to be like shocked. Yeah, so lots of interesting factoids in here, and yeah, I can't get enough of it. So highly recommend this if that's what you're into. And another viewer mentioned that Ruth Goodman has a YouTube, I don't know, it's on YouTube, but there's a reality show where apparently two men, I think she hosts it or produces it. I don't know. I have to check it out. But two men live their lives as much as they can by the book of Victorian England, back in the day. And it's kind of like a social experiment, I guess. So it's, yeah, I'm really curious to see that. And yeah, so thank you, whoever you are, for recommending that. I will be checking it out. But yeah, How to Be a Victorian by Ruth Goodman. So yeah, that's what I've been reading and listening to this past week. I hope, that those are some suggestions you might be into. But yeah, all right, I think that is it for this week, guys. Dennis actually has a work dinner tonight, so it's just me and the cat, and as I like to call it, either lonely sushi night or lonely octopus night, because I get to order takeout from wherever I want, and tonight it's gonna be lonely octopus night with the cat, and it's gonna be good. So anyway, I digress. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you, as always, so much for hanging out with me. And if you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to like and subscribe below. I put out a new episode every Friday and the like. So yeah, happy knitting, and I will see you next time. Bye!